One of the main reasons why some startups fail is, and it's kind of weird, but you look at their website and it's just ugly. And we always invest into our website from day zero. But a lot of, let's say, even companies that we work today, sometimes you jump on a demo and you're like, you explain what you do, and then you somehow bumped into the website and you're like, damn, this is not a company that I would buy anything from. So yeah, many companies don't even get the basics right.
My name's Mike Lander, and you're listening to Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast, where we bring you actionable insights about sales RFPs, negotiations, and difficult procurement discussions from sales leaders, brand leaders, and procurement leaders. Please subscribe to get updates when new episodes are released. Frank, hi. Thanks for joining me on Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast. Great to have you as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just get into it. Let's just find out who you are, what you do, and something unusual about yourself.
Sure. So Frank Sondors, I've been in tech and tech sales for over a decade. Started my career back in the days in a big corp called Google. That's where literally I had my digital academy. And then I worked for various B2B SaaS companies, selling whether that's data, machine learning. And in my previous gig, I used to be the VP sales of a sales team of 50, selling a data visualization software all around the world, all the way to the east in Australia and all the way to the west Coast. Yeah, based in Europe. And right now I'm building a company called Salesforge, where I help companies in B2B to generate significantly more sales pipeline, so meaning meetings, but with the least headcount possible. So the way we think about architecting the software, essentially we're looking at the least possible sort of input that's required from the humans in order to achieve superior pipeline output. So you need to architect the software differently. You need to build in a lot of data layers, a lot of autonomous execution, AI agents, you name it, a lot of things that have to happen so that wherever we need reps, they get plugged in quite nicely. So for example, at the bottom of the funnel, right? So where you typically have the conversations with the prospect, that's where it's very hard, at least very hard to imagine that an AI agent would do a demo because humans do buy from humans. And so, yeah.
Perfect. And something unusual about yourself?
Oh, yes. The unusual bit, one of the things, there's many things that are usual about me, but maybe one thing which is kind of interesting is I proposed to my missus after 6 days of knowing her.
Wow.
So yeah, when you know what you want in your life, then you just go for it. And sometimes that's proposing to your missus on day 6 of knowing her. But the other thing maybe is that I traveled to over 70 countries out there. So that also has helped me to become better in sales, right? Because you're able to understand how different cultures sort of function, etc. So if you are selling around the world, and I am typically doing that, then that helps you to just kind of tailor your approach, to specific different countries. So yeah.
Perfect. So let's get to the questions. What did you learn about managing a 50-person sales team to hit quota?
I think one thing that I keep on always referencing is that, so I hired hundreds of salespeople in my lifetime and also fired actually a lot of salespeople in my lifetime. And there's a typical stat, which is quite normal when you speak to other sales leaders, which is that for every 10 salespeople that you hire in your sales team, only one person, maybe max, is really natural. They're really, you can see from the moment that they join, they're really natural at their job. And then 2 to 3 people out of the 10 can be trained up. So they're very coachable. They're very open to feedback. They're like a sponge, right? And they want to improve. They want to become better version of themselves. So they grow very fast and they become very close to people that are natural in sales. And then 60% is typically what's called deadwood. And so if you know the stats around a typical sales team, and it doesn't matter which part of the world you're in, whether that's, US, UK, or other European countries or other parts of the world, the problem is that people are just not born to be salespeople. And sales is a very difficult job. And there's a huge attrition problem essentially in sales. So you hire a lot of people typically in sales, and then you do end up letting them go. And what that meant essentially in my previous job, is that I already could predict every single month how many people would leave the team. So I would hire those individuals, the amount of individuals or the heads that I really needed in advance, because I would predict X number of people leaving. There's always that, it's like a SaaS essentially, that you have this sort of churn that you predict you're going to have X churn, and then you need to acquire X number of customers, right, to have a stable business. Because if I don't have bums on seats, then, I couldn't essentially generate that pipeline. And this is where I had the frustration as a sales leader that, wow, I always need X number of bums, on the seats in order to generate sales pipeline. Why couldn't we generate more sales pipeline, but with fewer individuals, in the team? And then the software actually that I was using, the legacy tech, it really optimized around bigger teams. Because essentially the bigger the sales team you have, the more revenue you make. So a lot of workflows and everything that works within the software, it kind of caps you on per sort of user basis. Whereas I was looking from a standpoint of having the smallest possible team and generating the biggest possible output levels. So yeah, I was very frustrated with essentially the old school process or like predictable sales model, and knowing that the main lever to target attainment was more, bums on seats. just very frustrated. And this is also why one of the main reasons why I built this company. So yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of other learnings that you have, but I wouldn't say I had a lot of learnings maybe on the other parts of being a sales leader, but I think around the people front, you need to be honest with yourself that if you have a big target as a sales leader, and I did, that does mean you will have to hire a lot of people and you will have to let go a lot of people. And you need to build this sort of system of only keeping, the best talent in the team, right? And there's typically two buckets, with employees that I always used to have. So one is what we call the keep bucket, and one is what we call the leave bucket. So even though there are some people that did pass the probation period and they would stick around, if they do decide to leave and they're in keep bucket, we'll do everything that we can to keep them, these employees. And then there was the leave bucket. So if these individuals decided to leave, we just, we wouldn't give a damn, really. So, and I think it's also about having a very transparent also framework of how you judge the performance of employees. So I introduced this framework called the 4-pillar framework. So on one hand, that's the performance. So are you hitting your KPIs, right? It's very straightforward. And a lot of people think it's only about the pillar 1, which is like hitting your performance targets and that's it. But actually, there's a lot of other things that the sales leaders do look at. So it's just that they may have a different framework, but it kind of has the same, we're getting to the same point. So the second one is essentially competence. You start with X competence in your sales job, but it improves massively over time. And that means every week, pretty much nearly every day, you become a better version of yourself and you can notice it from the individual, right? They're growing professionally. And that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for people that are exactly the same person, a month down the road, 3 months down the road, etc. Pillar 3 is commitment pillar. How committed you are to your job, to the company, to your team, etc. And so if you said you're going to get something done today, you will get that done today. You won't let me down, right? So, and there's definitely a behavior where people say something, they will do something or X, Y, Z, and they're not really committed. And then the last one is culture pillar. Sales is a very tough job, but coming into, say, to your team and saying, hey guys, nothing's working, everything's crap, etc., it's not something you really do. Essentially, the culture is very, very important, but really not from a standpoint of you're adding something to the culture rather than being a culture fit, right? So there's a saying, oh, we're looking for a culture fit. No. I think what we're all looking for is to definitely infuse the team with culture adds so they have a different opinion on things. And this is actually what makes the team significantly better, right? So let's say now a company, we have 40 people from all different parts of the world. And there's about 20 nationalities that we have in a company because what the belief is having different countries, so having this sort of cultural melting pot, different experiences, etc., actually makes your company significantly better because you're looking at the same problem, whether it's a sales problem or product problem, whatever, from different sort of lenses. So super, super important. So all these 4 pillars have an equal weight. And sometimes we let go the person, not just, back in my old job, but also in this job, being a CEO, sometimes just purely based on the culture. And we use this sort of traffic light system, essentially, so you have to be like always sort of green or yellow in every single pillar. And if you're red for 2 consecutive months, then we will have a conversation, whether that's in the form of a PIP or so performance improvement plans or something else, right? But typically 2 months is all you can afford in a fast-paced business that grows very fast. Let's say in this business, we grew in the first year from $0 to $3 million, from 3 co-founders to 40 employees. So when you're growing at a particular pace, you can't afford people being in the red zone for too long, right? So,
interesting. So you've grown, what was that? You've grown to what scale? In how? $3 million of ARR in how long?
In less than 12 months. So 11 months.
Wow.
Scale the team from 3 to 40 employees. I mean, we're definitely not that sort of company, especially, remembering my old times, we're definitely not that sort of company where we're just, aggressively hiring people. I mean, we are profitable as a company, even though we did raise $500,000, but we were always profitable since day 0. But we need that, what we call necessary evil of having humans in the team and scaling the company, because unfortunately, you can't just run on AI agents. So what I'm trying to say is like, we as a company, we sell AI agents, we run our own AI agents internally. And when we look at the particular problem, we're definitely looking at the problem to solve that problem, typically from AI agent lens first, before we're looking at plowing sort of humans into solving the problem. So I typically say, if you have a problem in the business, let's say you're scaling, right? So I always thinking about applying more AI agents off the shelf. So there's a lot of solutions on the market that you can already buy, you can plug it in, and then start delivering value to you within sort of 2 to 4 weeks already, relatively quickly. If you can't do that, build custom workflows. So we use, for example, an automation engine called N8N. A lot of companies using that day is very similar to Make.com or Zapier. That's option 2. Option 3 is hiring an agency or freelancer. The reason why you want to go down the agency route, or a freelancer out is because there's a supply labor issues out there in the world. Essentially, if you're looking to hire people, hiring good people into your company is pretty difficult. And again, then you have to think about, firing them, etc. But like agencies specialize in particular areas. And if this area is like big enough, let's say, I don't know, SEO or something, you far rather employ an SEO agency and let them do the grunt work than hiring a person to do that job. And then, the last resort is hiring an individual into your team. So that's how we think. So agent first and human second about everything that we do in the business. So when we have a problem, I always tell everybody internally, is this a problem we can solve with an AI agent? Is there an AI agent we can buy today? Yeah. All you have to do is just Google ChatGPT, right? So see if there is one. If there isn't one, just try and think whether this could be custom built. So we have this guy internally that just builds workflows on a weekly basis on NA10 to kill anything that's repetitive, to help us essentially to being leaner and meaner, so that we don't have the pressure to hire more individuals. And you will see the compound effect every single month. Every single month you will feel that, wow, it's getting easier and easier to do my job. Everything's automated, etc. And that's the feeling I had when I was working back in my days at Google. At Google, everything's automated, and it's like a machine. And even a machine needs a face, right? So there are a lot of faces at Google back then, still are. The company's growing massively. But even though everything is automated, you join Google, and there's nothing that you need to really do much, because you get automated reports, automated this, automated that. And that's the feeling that I wanted to create also internally in my little startup, which isn't little anymore, where everything's like automated. So let's say when a demo gets booked, then we get all the intel about that particular account delivered in Slack against that demo booked. When a user signs up, automatically a WhatsApp message gets sent off to that particular user that signed up. If the user didn't end up buying anything from us within 7 days, then the voice AI agent goes and calls up the prospect and says, hey, this is Agent Frank. How was your experience with the software? Was there something that was missing? Why didn't you end up buying? Right? So all of these things that are sort of automated, fully autonomous, make your business naturally significantly leaner and meaner, increase your profit margins, etc. Make sure you don't hire people, too many people, and you actually enjoy your job as a CEO a lot more instead of managing, a huge team. So yeah.
So how have you, and this kind of plays into the other two kind of prompts, but it's a very natural lead into, how did you scale to 3 million of ARR? So what was your kind of lead gen process, and what was your conversion process? Because 3 million of ARR within 12 months, that's really going some.
Thanks. So a bit of backstory. So yes, for the first million, interesting enough, we hired 0 people when it came to scaling to the first million. Then we started to hire. First, people were in the support team and in the engineering team, because we had way too many support tickets, and naturally we want to build more stuff, so we needed more engineers. Then up until 2 million ARR, we had no people in go-to-market front, really, like no person in marketing, sales, or customer success. I was literally doing everything by having 10 to 20 meetings every day. So every week I would have up to 100 meetings. I did like 18-hour days.
But how did you generate that number of meetings? How did that work?
So I don't think there's a magic channel or anything. So I would say the answer is I did everything. But on one hand, you need to make sure that you do founder-led sales essentially, and you need to hang out wherever your ideal customer is hanging out. So let's say in the world of sales, a lot of people are hanging out on LinkedIn. Well, guess what? I have a LinkedIn profile and it has like over 20,000 followers, etc. I've been growing that, steadily over the last 15 years. And you can just talk about the pains that you're solving out there and how you're solving them every single day. So every single day I post something on LinkedIn about how I do things, how I look at problems and solving those problems, etc. And then because ultimately the way that we market this product is that we're building this product for our sales leaders, but built by former VP sales, right? So people can also connect and with us maybe better, right? Because there's a lot of founders out there that build software and they haven't been in sales or sales leadership positions ever. Then yes, they build the software from one particular angle, but I'm building the software from an angle that, a sales rep will understand how to use the software and will find it very enjoyable. Then the VP sales will find the sales software, wow, generates a lot more pipeline. And the CFO will be very happy about how effectively you're acquiring these net new dollars, right? So you have to think about different levels of how you're building your software so that all stakeholders in the organization will be very happy. So you can talk about it in many different ways. So, but it's not just, me being on LinkedIn or on X or other platforms being visible, but we literally did everything that we could do. There's a book by Paul Graham from YC about doing things that don't scale. So getting to 100 customers, we literally were doing things that don't scale. So what does that mean, actually? So that means, you go and post on LinkedIn. Yes, you go and post on Reddit saying, hey, you launched Salesforge. and this is what we do, and this is why we've decided to build this, etc. Then you go and make a YouTube video or 10 YouTube videos, etc. Then you go to events, etc. So none of these things like really scale, but it's something that where you can easily drum up at least 100 initial 100 first customers, and you can get feedback from them before you kind of continue on scaling. But then yes, you need to figure out systems that compound ultimately. So what does that mean? Again, is say when it comes to SEO right now, funny enough, is our number one channel for the business, but we were investing always in SEO from day zero. So when there were just 3 of us, well, I don't have time to write these blog posts. Then I went and used AI, and so I went and bought a software that does write blog posts using AI. And sure, it wasn't these were not the greatest ones back in the days, but it did generate for us, some SEO traffic, and then we generate more and more. And guess what? Today we generate over 150 blog posts for our business as an input, and that naturally, it will rank. It will say time to rank, etc. But this is the compound effect, and I don't have to necessarily then plow money into Google Ads or Facebook Ads, etc., where it's kind of bottomless pit of cash, that you're kind of always giving up to Google, etc. So everything that you do in the business has to compound. So content, great. So SEO, YouTube as well. So I have a guy internally. So I used to do these videos. Back in the days, I would talk about how to use Salesforge and why to use Salesforge, how to solve email deliverability and stuff like that. And then I ended up hiring a guy that does this for us as a full-time job. So it's doing these multiple things. And the reason why you're doing them is because the way that buyers buy today is not because they've just seen you from this one channel, whether that's email or LinkedIn or cold calling, whatever. It's because they see you in multiple places. So they saw you on Reddit, they saw you somehow on LinkedIn, then they saw you on Facebook, etc. So I was also in a lot of Facebook groups, literally 100 Facebook groups that have to do something with sales and sending emails. And then, of course, we used our own software. So we're dog fooding, right? So I was also reaching out to people, right? But also I was reaching out to people on LinkedIn. So I was using my profile of my co-founders to reach out to a lot more people. And guess what? Today, instead of 3 co-founder profiles, I have 30 plus LinkedIn profiles that I'm using to reach out to hundreds and hundreds of ICPs, so ideal customer profiles, every single day. So it's a very targeted list, right? But yeah, we're big believers naturally in outbound, big believers on inbound. But everything that we do, it has to have a significant scale. This is not us thinking about how do we maximize the output levels of one single rep, but how do we maximize the output levels of our business across email, LinkedIn, cold calling, inbound. That means SEO, YouTube, and other channels. So everything has to compound. So it gets easier and easier to get more and more leads at a lower cost into the business. So yeah, unfortunately, there is no straightforward answer where I would say, hey,
well,
yes,
like most businesses, yep, that's exactly the message, is there is no silver bullet. There is no one route.
Yeah. And I can tell you that one of the main reasons why some startups fail is, and it's kind of weird, but you look at their website and it's just ugly. And we always invest into our website from day zero. But a lot of, let's say, even companies that we work today, sometimes you jump on a demo and you explain what you do, and then you somehow bump into the website and you're damn, this is not a company that I would buy anything from. So yeah, many companies don't even get the basics right, having just this decent website, what I call decent. Yes, maybe some people won't like it, but at least it's a decent website, explains what you do, and would you buy it? Yeah, maybe. But some websites are definitely not workable. It looks like it just was written by AI and ChatGPT kind of spit out. It doesn't look solid. So we have today 6 websites because we have 6 products. And so into every website, we invest every single month. And again, we have this website designer who works full time and he designs these websites and makes them better, bigger, whatever, And it becomes like this little sort of ecosystem of products that we're selling today. So we don't sell just one product, but we actually sell multiple products. And this is also one of the other reasons. It's not just about how aggressively we scaled and what we did on the acquisition front and maybe the funnel front, but it's also what is let's call the product strategy that allows you to unlock a lot more revenue. So what that means from our kind of 6 products that we have is we didn't just sell this one product from the get-go. We were pretty much selling already 2 products pretty much very fast. And then we had 3 products and 4 products. So actually a customer, when they come to us, they don't just buy 1 subscription, they just buy 2 or 3 subscriptions. And that's called the software compound model. You're compounding software on top of each other and you're selling to the same users. So think of Microsoft or think of Apple, right? So they also have multiple products. In Apple, there's a concept called the Apple ID, right? You can log into multiple of their softwares. Same with us. We have Forge ID that you can use to log into different products. So there's all of these ease of use features that we're building because what we were trying to do is kill this point solution sort of feeling because there's a lot of software in our space. And the way that we're looking to consolidate is instead of building this sort of super app and becoming something like Salesforce where you have a lot of features crammed into, instead we want to modularize and becoming sort of a bit like Apple. So you only buy what you need. Everything's based on consumption. So nothing's like per seat based pricing because as I said, we don't believe in, more humans means more sales. We believe in efficiency is the name of the game going forward with AI and AI agents, everything, right? So So it's actually a bit of a stupid model to be charging per seat these days. Everybody's charging for consumption, a lot of companies, unless you're a legacy company, still that's dying. And then there's actually a new model that exists in the software space where you can charge for an actual outcome within
exactly.
software, right? So we don't do that yet. I can explain why, but there are other softwares where they would charge you per meeting, say, booked, which is an outcome, right, of the software that you could have. But the reason, for example, why we didn't end up doing that, maybe not yet, is because we are not accountable for the product market fit of each of the customers, right, that we onboard, or even product channel fit. So what I'm trying to say with that is, so let's say if Salesforge today does one channel, let's say email, and soon we're going to add LinkedIn, but let's say for email as a channel. If this customer had never had any form of results from the email channel, right, so them reaching out to customers, then there isn't necessarily conviction that when they're going to start using our software, they will actually generate any form of meetings. It's a bit like Google Ads. So I used to work at Google, and we used to onboard these advertisers. So, and they would spend thousands and thousands of euros or dollars, whatever, and they would see no conversions at the end. And that's because, sometimes you can optimize the channel as much as you want, but it's just not a fit for your business for whatever the reason is. And that's the same with the email, same with ads, same with whatever other channels, right? So, and that's why we never went down the outcome path. However, that's something we're considering later down the road, because the more data we start accumulating about each of the industries, different countries, etc., and if we start seeing across our customer base, oh wow, we are actually in these particular industries, these particular segments, etc., we are seeing relatively healthy conversion rates, then yes, that may become an optionality down the road. But right now, we're trying to keep it as straightforward as possible. Meaning, if you are actually sending emails, then we are charging you for that, right? So. But that does mean, we're not as maybe as sexy as other companies where you can just go to them and say, okay, we're only going to pay you for a meeting that we generate. So, yeah.
So just kind of tying it all together, what's your advice to a services SME looking to use AI particularly, so AI-enabled prospecting tools for generating new high-value client opportunities? Where would they start? It's a very common problem right now is everyone's interested, but no one's quite sure what to do. Within the sales arena, where would you start to think about AI as an enabler?
There's like thousands of different ways to answer this, actually, probably. So let's take a step. So whether it's AI or not, you need to solve these sort of different, what I call success pillars. So on one hand, you need to get the right data, right? So this is your ideal customer profile, and you have to get the right data. So for that particular problem, we have a product called Leadsforge.ai. Leadsforge.ai is like ChatGPT or Perplexity, where it connects to multiple databases and finds your leads against your ideal customer profile criteria. Then you need to use the right software to execute. Now, whether it's AI enabled or not, it doesn't matter. It has to be the right software. What that means in the world of email, it has to be a software that actually specializes in solving email deliverability problems. So there's a lot of softwares that don't specialize on what's called the cold email front, for example, like MailChimp or Beehive. These are newsletter softwares. They're not designed for cold emails. They're designed for users that have opted in. So use the right software to send the emails. And again, AI or not, doesn't really matter. AI just improves efficiencies. And then the next one is what's called the copy pillar. This is where AI is super powerful. Well, essentially sending any form of static content, meaning templates, it's pretty bad for your deliverability and for any form of like spam rates or blocking you, even on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So where the whole world is moving, or what I'm seeing actually from where I sit, is essentially we are seeing the death of templates. We're seeing more and more programmatic emails or messages that are going out to prospects or to the potential buyers to make the messages a lot more personalized and relevant to them. Based on their LinkedIn profile data, website data, and stitching that to what is it that you sell, you can easily compute these messages. And then the last thing is what's called the right level of email infrastructure. So when it comes to the world of email. So because in the world of email in particular, you have spam issues, deliverability issues, you need to set up these what's called secondary domains. So for example, if we have a domain like Salesforge.ai, we would set up a secondary domain and only send it from that domain, like try Salesforge.ai, get Salesforge.ai, and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to AI, so we have our own agent called Agent Frank, so which is a fully autonomous AI SDR. And it essentially, it sits on top of these products that we have. So we have these 6 products, and then the agent is on top of that. So when we build a new product, we hook it up to the agent to make him more powerful. We only do outbound for now. We are looking to do at some point inbound, but the next kind of major upgrade will be actually doing that on LinkedIn. So fully autonomously going after that. So there's a lot of different agents on the market that are designed for sales purposes in different stages of the funnel. Top of the funnel, if you're looking to generate demand for your business and book demos, you can just search for a bunch of AI SDRs out there. But the way that it works in a nutshell, so this is where you have to maybe choose as a business owner, whether you want to go what we call the human path. And so meaning you want to do everything yourself, right? So you can choose the human path, do everything yourself, or maybe hire a rep for them to do it, etc. Path 2 is the AI agent path. You are buying an off-the-shelf solution, an agentic software, and it will do most of the legwork for you. Or option 3 is an agency. So these are really the 3 options that you can choose from to acquire new business for yourself via outbound, right? So I do it myself. I go get one of these autonomous softwares, or I hire an agency, right? So there's upsides and downsides. In some cases, what I do actually, I do all 3. I have a sales team of 3 individuals. I use an AI agent Frank, and I also have agencies that work for me, right? So because all of them are incremental, and all of them naturally have disadvantages and advantages. So an agency has a lot of knowledge that can pass over to me from other customers they're working with. The agent is the most cost-effective solution and will outperform an average rep. But then the reps that I did hire, only 3 of them, are above average, right? So they would outperform the agent, but a lot more expensive for me to keep on. But it's fine because, I call this blended approach to go to market, kind of to the next milestone of 10 million ARR. So there's no sort of right and wrong. So essentially, you have 2 options if it comes to AI stuff, if you are going down to the AI path. So on the AI front, we have a lot of solutions in the market that are what's called AI co-pilots. So that can help you within the existing workflow to improve efficiencies. The second one is full-on autonomous mode, which is what Agent Frank does. So there, just to explain the way it works is, so you outline, for example, let's say in Salesforge, your value proposition. So what is it that you do? What is the pain you're solving for your customers? What's your solution offer? What's the cost of inaction if they decide not to solve the problem? And then you outline who's your ideal customer profile. Then Agent Frank will go and source the leads for you from Leadsforge. It will craft a unique email to every single one of those recipients in the language of your choice, whether it's English, French, German, etc. It will deliver those emails using our proprietary email infrastructure. And then if the prospect ever replies back, then the agent within literally minutes will reach out back to the prospect based on what's available, what's called in your knowledge base. Knowledge base is just a repository of everything that your typical sales rep should know about. It's like a sales playbook, pricing, FAQs, etc. And that's what the agent would use to communicate back to your prospect. And if the agent doesn't know how to answer the question, then we just stop and we'll wait for the human to intervene. And ultimately, this agent is then optimized to actually book meetings. So you hook up your calendar link or something similar, and then the agent will use that link to actually schedule a meeting. So that's what an AI agent can do today, like end-to-end, fully autonomous, booking off meeting on email. There's also solutions on the market for LinkedIn. We're also going to be rolling out LinkedIn in a couple of months. But yeah, that's why, it's quite interesting to see how the space is evolving, because whether you're using the co-pilot mode for your team and many solutions or the fully autonomous mode, all of us will be forced to work with the AI agents in tandem. Because I don't really see a world where if you want to be a lot more efficient, not more lean and mean, you will be forced to embed these sort of automations or AI agents within your existing sales team to drive far higher output levels at the lower cost per unit. So the cost per unit in this case could be, cost per meeting booked, right? So what I'm trying to say, if you just would use, a human-only team versus human team plus AI agents, human team plus AI agents will drive significantly better efficiency levels for your business. So that's how you can look at the world. And then if you feel like there's nothing in the market that solves your particular problem right now in sales or other areas of the business. So it's not just about sales, actually. It's about generally running your business, because we also use a lot of AI agents for other areas of the business. For example, like invoice reconciliation or something else, right? So it's just to improve your business overall. So in that case, this is where we would use, say, NA10 for everything in our business. So if we don't do something as a business, so for example, we don't provide voice AI agents, well, we're going to build one on NA10 to kind of plug that until we have our own offering. So, yeah.
Frank, it's been amazing. So just 2 things. What problem do you solve for people and how should they get in contact?
So the problem that we solve for people is ultimately meetings, right? You need more meetings through an outbound motion, through cold email as a channel, and LinkedIn very soon, a couple months. Then that's what we really solve. We do that naturally with efficiency in mind, right? So by blending AI agents. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best spot. Frank Sondors, but the guy with the bacon emoji. It comes from the saying, bringing home the bacon. That's exactly what we do. We help you to bring home the bacon. So, yeah.
Frank, thanks ever so much for joining us on the Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast. It's been amazing having you as a guest. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast series with your host, Mike Lander. Please subscribe so that you'll catch all the next episodes.